Got my eyes straight ahead, got my head in the game. With the red light on, I'm just waiting for the change. Keep my head down low.
Hi, I'm Jay Fallon. Thank you for listening to The Slippery Slope. So, look, the last episode I did was about pride. Okay, I had Pastor Patrick Russell on the program. We had a discussion about what pride is, what the Bible says about pride, and obviously that how that contrasts what the world now celebrates as pride. Completely contradicts each other. The world obviously celebrates this pride in its own sin and degradation, in its own depravity. The Bible says the complete opposite. We shouldn't be having pride in these kinds of things. We need to boast in the things of God. You don't have pride in your own sexual depravity. I look at it now and you think, obviously we're in June. It's what they call Pride Month. We have a whole month celebrating homosexual deviant lifestyles. How weird would it be if I was a school teacher and I was at school and I spent the whole month celebrating my heterosexual lifestyle, telling all the children the joys and wonders of the heterosexual life. I'd be kicked out of the school. It'd be weird. And yet I've seen plenty of footage, some of it from overseas, some of it from some weird stuff going on in Canada, but just as weird stuff going on here as well. Teachers celebrating pride, transgenderism, this transgender ideology, as if but there's nothing thought of it. If like I said, if I did that as a heterosexual male teacher, I'd be booted out because it'd be like, well, that's just flipping weird. What's going on there? Can't just spend a whole month talking about that. Sex life, celebrating sex. But apparently you can do that if you're gay, homosexual. Anyway, why I'm talking about all this still, Equality Australia. So they have partnered with Courtney Act. If you don't know Courtney Act, I think real name is Shane, something like that. He's just a famous Australian drag queen. Now, so they partnered with this Courtney Act dude to raise funds so they can stand up to hate. So their goal is to raise up to $200,000. At the moment, I believe they're up to around 100,000. And so this is their goal: stand up to hate. The problem is, what do they think is hate? There was an article that came out just last week, and it was about our Prime Minister doing an interview with Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan, the British reporter. So this headline says backlash erupts over Anthony Albanese's answer to what is a woman question. So Anthony Albanese was interviewed by Piers Morgan. Transgender activists have called out Anthony Albanese over his answer to the question, what is a woman? British broadcaster Piers Morgan asked the Prime Minister the question on his news show in early May. Albanese, our Prime Minister, gave a very simple answer to the question, defining a woman as an adult female. That's what he says, an adult female. Morgan says, how difficult was that to answer? Albanese said, not too hard. I was asked during the campaign, actually, but I think that we need to respect people for whoever they are. The what is a woman question has become controversial in recent months. That's because we've always known what a woman is, and now all of a sudden everyone's turned dumb and no one seems to understand that a woman is an adult female. Anyway, and and then they try and tell you that transgender ideology is such a good thing. Anyway, so it goes on. What is a woman question has become controversial in recent months, with many politicians struggling to answer in fear of upsetting critics or supporters of trans rights. Don't want to upset. Remember, we'll go back to what Equality Australia is doing. They're raising their 200 grand. However, Mr. Albanese's answer continues to anger many in the transgender community. Just go back to what he said. He's asked, what is a woman? He says, an adult female. Doesn't seem that complicated to me. I haven't met a woman, there's no one I know that I could say they would get upset about that answer. Because I think every woman I know personally is fairly common sense, intelligent, hasn't been brainwashed by this kind of ideology anyway. But this is the problem. All he answers with a straightforward type answer, adult female, angered the transgender community, with some calling him a transphobe. How dare they? He can't say he can't say that a woman is an adult female, but then they can come out and call him names. A transphobe. And claiming he is using talking points echoed by TERF. Now, TERF stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminists. If you haven't watched it, I did an interview it was ages ago now, last year, with Sel Grover. She is one of these she's taken one of the like a lead role in this kind of TERF activism now. The very, very smart woman. Anyway, so the CEO of Equality Australia, Anna Brown. Remember, Equality Australia is the group that's raising 200 grand because they're fighting hate speech. So this CEO of Equality Australia, Anna Brown, suggested that the Prime Minister shouldn't answer a question designed to attack transgender people. Asking a PM to define what a woman is. Now, remember, all these other politicians have been struggling to answer this question because they don't want to upset anyone. They don't want to get the trans people offside. This is the problem. All these politicians have been struggling to answer the question, what is a woman? Because they don't want to upset trans activists, these people that are brainwashed by this weird demonic ideology. And yet when he does answer it, our Prime Minister answers it with a fairly straightforward, concise answer. Well, he is obviously a bigot and a transphobe. This is the group that's trying to raise funds, 200 grand, so they can fight hate speech. So they believe that this is hate speech. This CEO, Anna Brown, the CEO of Equality Australia, suggested the Prime Minister shouldn't answer a question designed to attack transgender people. Asking what a woman is an attack on transgender people because they know it's a lie. This is why they perceive it as an attack, because they know that men who dress up as women and try and tell everyone that they are now a woman is not the truth. They know that in their heart. They know that in the very depths of their soul. They know it's a lie. But they want everyone else to come on board and believe their little lie. Anyway, so goes on in this article saying that this is this Anna Brown saying, but when any leader is asked a question designed to attack trans women, they should first call it out for what it is, she told media. They can instead speak to trans people in Australia and directly let them know that they will not be part of the punching down. Greens MP Stephen Bates said the Prime Minister needed to get a spine and stop mumbling platitudes in an attempt to placate the transphobes. I would say all these other politicians need to get a spine and stop trying to placate the transgender movement. So then they're talking about how, you don't get to march with us in Mardi Gras because he did the whole march at Mardi Gras. And Transgender Victoria co-founder and Just Equal Australia spokesman Sally Goldner slammed Mr. Albanese's failure to defend trans women. Trans and gender diverse Australians need a Prime Minister who will defend them, they said. This is the problem, and this is what I'm getting at, okay? This Equality Australia is trying to raise all this money because they are fighting hate speech. But what they consider hate speech is truth. No one is asking for the annihilation of the transgender community. People want these people, other people in the community want transgender people helped properly. They don't want this ideology taught in our schools. They don't want this ideology brought in to young and taught to young children so they can be brainwashed and then have their young children saying, "Well, maybe I'm not really a girl like I thought I was for the last 6 years. Maybe I'm actually a boy. I can be a boy." Because you can never actually change sex. You can mutilate your body with operations, but you will never actually be the opposite sex. This is what they consider hate speech. When you stand up and talk about the truth, when you don't believe their lies and you don't accept their ideology, they believe that is hate speech. And that is what they are raising their money for, so that they can stop anyone from speaking the truth. They don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to accept the truth. They don't want you or I to talk about the truth. Transgender ideology is demonic. They want the right to be able to call you and me a bigot and a transphobe and tell you to shut your mouth and you're not allowed to say anything. You can't have an opinion. You cannot speak the truth, but they can say whatever they want. That's the truth of it. That's the facts. That's my opinion. Thanks for listening to the slippery slope.
They just fuel the desire that will take me higher. I'm on fire.